Neha Singh. Neha, welcome to the show and thanks for joining in. Um, can you tell us about any potential interaction that you may have had with Mr. Tata and the kind of values that he brings or is looking for, setups like yours?
So Mr. Tata has been a legendary figure for a lot of us growing up, and he has personified not just a person who has who's visionary, but also having a heart of gold. We had the fortune of meeting him a couple of times. I think one of the most memorable meetings for us was when he was meeting for investment in Tracxn. And the meeting was actually scheduled for an hour, and interestingly, it lasted for an hour and a half. And initially, we had thought that there would be someone else who would be asking the question from the team, but actually, it was him asking, all the questions relevant to the business. And it was, I think, it was for us, it was very humbling experience, to actually have him sort of. Ask such a lot of questions for our business. And post the meeting, an hour and a half, we got a call that he wanted to invest, and obviously we were very thrilled to hear that. So very disheartening to hear this news. But I think, having had the fortune of meeting him, during our lifetime, I think it's very humbling to meet a person. Firstly, he's very hands-on, very curious, and very humble for all the things that he's been able to bring to so many of us.
We're speaking with Neha, of course, and also Swati Bhargav, who's co-founder of Cashkaro and Earnkaro. I just want to understand what your first meeting with Ratan Tata was and how you convinced him to invest in your company.
Yeah, well, our meeting with Mr. Tata is one of the most cherished memories for my husband Rohan and myself. We run the business together. We actually met him in 2016 in Mumbai at the Taj Hotel. And I still remember entering that room and Mr. Tata sitting on this long table having his lunch, having a very nice dessert plate. And we both smiled at each other because, the dessert looked so good. And the first thing I told him was that, sir, my 85-year-old grandfather is very happy that I'm here with you today because his first job was with Tata Steel. And I remember him getting up and saying to me, please thank him for his efforts and pay my regards to him. And he was so humble, he was so kind. And after that, I asked him that, do you mind if instead of pitching on the side, we sit across from you and just have a conversation? And he said, yeah, by all means, do that. Which again was really refreshing. It was for him, it was about making the most of that time together and getting to know each other, which is what we wanted as well. And once we explained him about Cashkaro, I asked him in the end, so what do you think of our business? And he said, in a country that loves to save, you're giving free money. What's there not to love? And that has stayed with us because that was the very, basic product market fit with which we entered from the UK to India. And during that 20-minute conversation, he touched upon everything from how do we acquire customers to why do partners work with us to how big this business can be. And I was really impressed with his business acumen, with his attention to detail, how engaged he was in that conversation. That really stood out.
Right. Swati, can you tell us about, I'm sure that your company has had a lot of investors coming in. How does Mr. Tata stand out and what is the distinction between Mr. Tata as compared to some of your other investors in the company?
Yes, we have had the fortune of raising over 250 crores in funding so far, led by Kalari Capital, Apple Global, Korea Investment Partners, various investors. But I think nothing gives you the sense of trust that Mr. Tata's investment does, and the way that his just having his name on our cap table just felt like such an honor. Rohan and I always used to say that I don't know how many times in our lifetime will we have the opportunity of working Mr. Tata with him, and that has been the single most honor of that we've had in this journey. And he's always been very supportive. He's been open to listening about challenges, advising, opening up his network, and it's just been such an honor to have had him with us. He'll really be missed. It feels like a very personal loss to us.
Suppose I'd want to, direct the same question to you as well. Anything that stands out in terms of his personality and his characteristics as an investor as compared to some other investors that you may have for your company?
So I think meeting him, I would probably agree with Swati. Like meeting him has been one of the most cherished memories of, meeting of all the investors we have had in the entire journey. I think in general, like our whole family probably, before that did not understand, what are we doing. And after we had the, sort of investment from him, I think there was notches up of, respect for us of what we are doing. And, hopefully we are doing something very interesting that, we were able to meet him and he was interested in that. But I think it was really humbling to sort of, meet him and have the opportunity to do that during the lifetime.
All right. Swati, going forward, how do you think that, well, given the kind of values that Sir Ratan Tata brings to the entire startup ecosystem, how do you think that the values that are being instilled can potentially be taken forward by the startup community in India specifically?
Well, I think he embodies the concept of pay it forward really well. And I think others are also inspired by that, that when you make it big, try and take out the time, the money, the resources to pay it forward and invest in the overall growth of the ecosystem, which he did so well by supporting so many of us. And I think others will continue that legacy. He is a legend and his legacy will miss on. He's a legend and his legacy will live on and he will be deeply missed by all of us.
Neha, I suppose the same question for you. Anything that potentially stands out that could also be taken forward by a company like yours?
So we've had the opportunity to meet him, a couple of times. One, interestingly, was during my convocation from IIT Bombay, was probably the first time, and then during Tracxn was probably one of the most memorable meetings that we have had. I think he, personifies in someone, who has a good understanding, who transpires, I would say, generations, not just the traditional businesses, but, as things are changing, he has great amount of curiosity, for him to be able to, actually ask questions for our business. I think he had a lot of curiosity, throughout, to understand, the new age businesses, to understand, more about other things, which is going on about private markets. We also had a conversation around about private markets and how do we see forward. So I think for us, I would say it's very humbling that, someone of that, who have achieved so much is still so curious and is still open to sort of, asking questions from others.
Neha, I'm going to take the fact that you are in the business of gathering information around businesses as a service. I'm just going to take this particular area forward. Can you tell us about the latest trends with respect to how things are changing on ground for a company like yours?
Yeah. So we are basically a private market intelligence platform, and what we strive to do is basically bridge the information gap which exists in the private markets. Essentially, when you look at it, there are a lot of interesting companies doing very innovative work. While there are a lot of investors who are looking to find out these interesting companies every day. And our endeavor has been, now that there is more and more data about private companies, which is there, how do we bring it in a very actionable manner for investors on the platform to be able to do that? So I think that was probably one of the things which, sort of resonated well, in our meeting. I would say that, how do we basically, that a new asset classes now that is getting created of the private markets, how do we sort of add transparency to help the innovation ecosystem in our small way, to just bridge the information gap, I would say.
Thank you so much, Neha and Swati, for talking to us.